I'm Vanessa Ruck and I'm here with Oxford Products, and today we're going to be looking at the Hotgrips Pro, and we're going to be doing a full installation to keep your hands warm out on the road. So Oxford Products have been making heated grips back since 1983. So there's a whole load of research, development and experience that goes into this product. This is the latest product offering, and of course it is suitable for a whole different range of motorcycles. Today I have the Suzuki with me, and we're going to be taking these grips off and getting the Hotgrips on, and I'm going to be talking through some of the key things you want to think about in that installation process. Great thing about these products is that you don't need very many tools to get them installed. So this is everything you're going to need. We've got a Stanley knife to cut off the existing grips, screwdriver to do the battery terminals. You're potentially going to need a file, sandpaper and some brake cleaner to clean up the grips before you add the new Hotgrips. When it comes to the actual wiring, it can be quite tricky getting the cables through. So a pull-out poker or some firm cable can actually be quite helpful, with some tape to help feed that through, some cable ties to secure them, and that is all you're going to need to get it installed. So every single brand and model of motorcycle is going to have a slightly different process for installing grips, but the gist of it is going to be very similar. And the first part is, of course, taking the grips off. Now, it can be a little bit daunting taking grips off your motorcycle, because generally using a Stanley knife is the easiest way. If you want to take a little bit more time and care on some bikes, you are going to be able to take them off without doing that. But you've got to bear in mind that once you've got your heated grips on there, you're going to have warm hands for your own riding. And should you come to sell your pride and joy and hopefully replace it with another bike, it's an added bonus in that selling process because you've got heated grips on it. So it's a good one for selling points. First of all then, I need to get a Stanley knife and get these grips off. Depending on your handlebars, this process is going to be a little bit different. I have bar ends on this bike. You might have wraparounds, but you basically need to get to a point where you can expose the grip and have the end of the bar free, which is going to enable you to slide on the new heated one. So I've got a little Allen key and I'm going to take off the bar ends. Got myself a sharp knife, and a sharp knife is going to make this a lot easier. Don't cut yourself. Going to use the blade, poke it straight in through the rubber and then slice backwards. What you don't want to be doing is going too deep straight away and risking scratching the bike. So I'm going to do it in 2 strokes and then going back through and doing a deeper cut. You can see that's pulling back very easily. That exposes the bar and the grip will just pull away. Now, the glue and resin that's left, don't worry about it. You don't know what you'll find until you pull it out, but you're going to want to give that a bit of a clean before you get your new grips on. There's a range of different adhesive removers that you're going to be able to use. I've got the Mint brake cleaner. I'm just going to give that a clean up and get all that glue and resin off. We're going to be doing the same on the other side of the handlebar. Getting the knife in again and again. I'm doing this progressively so that I don't scratch the bike or the throttle body. In order to get the heated grips on, I need this to be a smooth surface to go on and the correct size. So because of these ridges, I need to get those off. Now, you could easily take the grip off the bike. If you felt comfortable opening up the electronics, you can take the throttle body off and do it on the workbench. I feel quite comfortable doing it on the bike, so I'm just going to put a little cloth to protect the bike. There's a few tools that you might want to use for this. One option is a Stanley knife and very gently cutting it away. You might find that a file is easier to file those ridges down. And you might also want to try some sandpaper, that you're going to need a smooth surface. So get that ready and then we can move on. Right, the handlebars are ready to go. I've got the 2 grips straight out of the box, and we can see we've got the electric tails on these. One is 700 and one is 650 in length. Now, the diameter of the holes is a key thing you're going to look at. One is slightly wider to go on the throttle body, and you've also got the electric control. Now, as a motorcycle rider, your throttle hand is doing quite a lot, so the controls go on your left hand, which gives you a little bit more capacity and safety turning them on and off. So next up is trial fitting them to getting onto the handlebars, because what we don't want to do is put glue on and then find they're not quite going on properly. So we're sliding them on as a test run first. Now, it can take a little bit of strength, wiggling, pushing to get them on, but you're obviously wanting quite a snug fit. And once we add the glue, they're going to be very snug and not moving. If it's difficult, you can use air, you can use a little bit of lubricant, but you've got to bear in mind that when you get to the step of gluing them, you're going to want a clean surface for that adhesive. Now you'll be able to know when you've got them on enough by the end of the grip to see where the bar end is. And what you want to be thinking about is the angle of the wire as well, because you want that wire to be coming down towards the bottom and the front, thinking about where you're then going to route that wire to get it to the battery electrics. Now, something that you're going to want to think about at this point is whether the grips are actually the right size for your bike, because these grips are cut downable based on your handlebar width. I'm going to use the groove that's been designed into the grip, which is quite handy because it enables you to have a straight line to cut round. Cut a little ring off, and then this will sit more happily. The grips come with their own super glue to put it on. It is quite a big packet of glue, so bear in mind you're not going to need all of it. I recommend getting some kind of cloth or rag to protect your paintwork, and then it's a case of getting the glue inside the grips. Now you're going to want to put enough on to glue them, but a little bit conservatively because it is super glue for a reason. At this point, you need to make sure that you're ready, because once that glue goes in there, you have seconds. So we're going to squirt it in, get it all the way around, and then put your glue somewhere safe and get it onto the handlebar. Having a bit of a fight and a wiggle is to be expected. A top tip if you are struggling for grip and your skin is to use a cloth, because you get a lot more power and grip, and it stops it hurting your skin as much. You're going to make sure that goes all the way on, and as you're doing it, remember the position of the switch, horizontal, and the wire coming out the bottom, so it's in the right place, and that is flush with the end of the bar. Second side, you're going to put your glue in, and again, remember that you have seconds. It's going to start bonding. I'm going to use the cloth again. Obviously, I'm rotating it one way because the throttle body moves, so it gives me something to push against. Cable's at the bottom, and that's on, ready for the bar end. While the glue is setting, it's time to get the electrics sorted so that there's actually going to be some heat in those grips. Now, the kit comes with a 1.20 m cable. It then has a fuse ring lead that's going to go onto your battery. Now, on some bikes, it might be that you prefer to put this into the back of your headlight, but today we're going to demonstrate putting it straight through to the battery on the motorcycle. Every single bike is going to have a different approach to how you do the wiring. Now, a key that you're going to want to think about is tidiness. For me, I don't like wires hanging around. It's things that you can get caught, it can be messy, and anywhere where there's a wire hanging out is also got the risk of being caught, which isn't going to be a good one for the safety. So you're going to work with your motorcycle to work out the best path to go from the grips through into the front stem and round into your battery terminal. Now, I am going to have a look at this bike. First thing, where is the battery? I know the battery's under the seat, so we're going to take the seat off, and then we're going to start looking at the panels to work out the best place for the wiring. Cues that might help you is looking at where the current wiring is going and seeing if you can run your cable alongside that. You're probably going to want some cable ties as well so that you can make sure everything's secure. So first up, let's get the battery exposed and we can start to see what we're dealing with. We've now got access to the battery. So the next step is come around to the other side and look at where the existing cabling is to try and find the best route down. So we've got the wires coming off the handlebars, coming down the front forks and into the front. Now, bearing in mind, this is going to be different on every motorcycle, so you're going to have a little bit of an investigation, get to know your bike. I'm going to pull the panel off here, which I know is a couple of poppers. And basically, those cables come across, come round up underneath and up to the battery. So we're following the existing cables down. We can immediately see there is a cable tidy. That is worth optimizing. Making sure that you're routing things the right side of cables so you're not getting chafage. You're going to start to think as well about hot areas on the bike. You don't want any of these cables to be exposed to heat. And I'm going to push these down through the same cable tidy. It's just one less cable tie that I will need to add onto the motorcycle. Now on the wire here, we can see that there is a cable tidy that came with the bike. So I'm going to open that up and the cable can go within it. One less cable tie again. So that's already looking tidier. Then we have the second grip. Again, following the other cables through to make sure that you're not going to get chafe. And I'm going to go through the same route down through the cable tidy. Having small hands is a little bit of an advantage at some of this stuff. And that's going to pull through. Now, as you are pulling through these cables, particularly on the throttle side, you're going to want to pay attention to how much slack you have on the cables, because this is going to need to have enough slack once cable tied to still be able to twist and rotate without putting tension on those cables. There is another cable tidy that came with the bike. So I'm going to utilize that and add our new cable in. At this point, we can see our cables coming through. Now we've got 3 cables here. That is because the grips go into each other so that you have one cable going down to your battery, but off 2 grips, which is why the grips have one control button, which operates both of them. So that has a water sealing plug. So I've twisted that up. And then we have the plug to go to the cable that's going to go all the way to the battery. I'm not going to plug that in yet. I'm going to get my battery wire routed, and then that will be my final hookup. I've worked out the best route that I'm going to take for my wiring. Obviously, an important point, make sure you're going to the right end. They're going to go to the battery, they're going to go to the grips. And this is going to vary depending on your bike. So something that you might find handy is some kind of poker. You could use a bit of wire, you could use a coat hanger, and this is going to enable you to attach the cable with a bit of electrical tape or something and poke it through some smaller places than your hands are going to get. So I'm just going to attach this on here. Here we go. And gently feed that through. Ta-da! We're getting close. There is one more cable tidy down in here that I'm going to get the wires through. I twist the forks for a little bit of space. There we go. So you can see there's a big cable tidy here. And I'm going to loop that in there. And the same for those. So we can finish up the tidying of these cables at the end, but we're just going to get it all in situ for now, and then you can come back and cable tie these in and make sure that's all neat and tidy. Nothing's going to move around. We're going to go back to the battery end for now though, and get our panels back on the side of the bike because we are done playing around in there. We're now at the battery point of the hookup, and don't be intimidated by the fact that this is electrical and it's batteries and wires. It's very, very simple. You have a positive and a negative. They're color-coded, black and red, as with normal. So it's a case of undoing the terminals to the battery. We're going to be putting the black on and the red on. Once you have got this attached, you want to make sure that your wires aren't going to start touching the bodywork of the bike. Keeping the cables that are already on the battery on the battery. I'm going to take the screw out and add my new cable. And then just have a think about making sure that you've got the path of least resistance for where that cable is going to go, so you're not going to get chafing. So I'm tightening it back up, coming out the same direction as the existing wire. Tighten that back up. Then we're going to move over to the positive side. Undoing. Now on the positive side, we do also have a fuse. So in here is a 5 amp fuse. The grips are pulling around 4 amps of current. So that 5 amp is going to just prevent anything from melting or burning anything out if it was to fuse. It's a bit of protection. I'm going to take the bolt out of the battery terminal again. And then insert our new wire. And put it down in place. If at this point your terminals aren't looking Very clean. You can always give them a little bit of a tidy up as part of your maintenance because you want a nice clean contact surface with those terminal points. And then again, thinking about the angle that that cable is coming out on to make sure you're not going to get chafage. Okay, so they are on. The last part is going to be thinking about this cable. So you've got option to use cable ties, tucking it in, making it secure. What I'm probably going to do is just tuck it underneath the rubber that the actual battery comes with. The easiest way to do that is to unplug and poke it underneath. And that's going to have it secure from movement. And then re-plug it in. Now, before you put your seat back on or your side panel, wherever your battery is, make sure those connections are done up correctly. They are water sealant, but they are not water sealed if they're not done up properly. Everything's secure and safe. You could, at this point, test your grips to make sure that everything is right. And if you're happy, get your bike back together and you're going to have warm hands. Moment of truth. Has my wiring succeeded? We've got the button. Going to click and hold it for 3 seconds. That is going to turn it on, and then you can see it's immediately flashing green. Now, this is part of the technology in the grips where it knows that there is no current going through the motorcycle at the moment. So battery saving mode means it's going to turn off unless I then turn my bike on. But the fact that there is a light means that those grips are wired up correctly. So there we have a full installation of the Oxford Hotgrips onto a motorcycle. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Let us know any questions that you might have in the comments. Now, there's a whole load of information about these products on oxfordhotgrips.com, and you can of course buy them for your bike off any of the Oxford Products dealer network. Oxford, making life on bikes better.